All right, what's going on, guys? Brent with West Coast Bassin out here in the boat today, and we are going to talk about jerkbait fishing. I use a PAL Inferno 7-foot medium, or I think it's a moderate fast action. It's paired up with like an 18-year-old Shimano Corrado. It's a 5-to-1 gear ratio, and most of the time I'm throwing it actually on Berkley Big Game 12-pound monofilament. It's a big line for throwing jerk baits, but it gets the job done. It's super abrasion resistant, it's cheap, and I like the stretch. I think it gives me a little bit more time for when the fish takes the bait, it stretches, and then once that stretch is done, then it hooks the fish, and they have the hooks a little bit better. Sometimes they just hit it and they're hooked before I can even get to it. But that's just my confidence, and that's what we're going to stress today is confidence in what you're throwing. If you're confident in the bait, that's going to make you fish that bait better than you ever fish anything else that you don't have confidence in. You're going to be more thorough with a bait you have confidence in, and you're going to be more attentive to the details that are going on around you with a bait that you're more confident in. You're going to pay attention to when you're throwing it, because you're confident in how the bait's moving. You're able to look out at least 10-20 yards in front of you and see that maybe there's a fish flitting on the surface, or maybe there's a commotion going on in front of you, that a big ball of bait was busted up by bass or by another prey fish, and you're able to pay attention to that while also still having confidence in what you're doing with your bait in the water. So some of the rip baits or jerk baits, whatever you want to call them, that I have confidence in are Megabass. They're either Vision 110 or the 110+1, and also the Lucky Craft Stacy 90 and the Pointer, I believe it's the Pointer 100. I've thrown the Pointer 100s, I believe they're the 100s. I've thrown the Pointers for a long time. I'm gonna say it's probably 16, 17 years, and that's a low guess. My dad used to tie them on my pole out of his tackle box when I was younger. So we're gonna go with 16, 17 years that I've thrown the Lucky Craft. Megabass makes great bait. They are by far my favorite baits in that category right now. A lot of guys change the hooks out on them. I have yet to have a fish straighten my hooks. I've straightened some hooks on baits that I've caught over 100 fish on. So I don't think they need to be changed. That's just personal preference. I don't want to spend the extra money to change them out. I actually bought extra of the same hook style that they have on there, just so I can swap hooks out on baits that may be a little worn out and the hooks may be starting to either bend out easier, or I may be worried about them, so I bought extra ones. And I've caught 5+ pound fish on them, and I've never had an issue. So that's just my personal preference, because I think the bait is weighted for those hooks, and I could be completely wrong. They could fish just fine with other hooks. I know a lot of guys, and some of my friends, and my dad actually does the same thing. They switch the hooks out. They believe there's better hooks for them. So that's your call. I carry lots of different hooks in the boat for my reaction style baits, and I will switch it out in a tournament situation where I see maybe I have one shank that was kind of straightened out when I pulled it out of the fish's mouth. I will switch the hooks out right then and there. That way I have no headaches later on during the day. I don't worry about it. I'm not thinking about it. Hooks done, gone. Whether the bait works right or not, that's on that. And that's another confidence thing. Being able to know that, hey, my bait, it's got brand new hooks on it, it's good to go. That's what you want. I've got some of these. These are the Strike King. I've got a few of these. It's a very small quantity. They come with pretty decent hooks on them already, but I don't throw them enough. And this spring will actually, I think, be the first spring that I've had them sitting in the box for, I don't know, a year, maybe more. It'll be the first spring that I'm actually going to tie these on, and I'm going to go out and I'm going to throw them. and just kind of give them a shot to either take them out of the box and put them in on the shelf, or leave them in the box and continue to throw them. So I don't know 100% whether or not I like those baits or not. They could be awesome, but only time will tell. I've got multiple different colors. Kind of where I will throw these different baits, everywhere. I will throw a jerk bait anywhere and everywhere, along grass lines, along rock formations, in the wood. I'll throw them under docks. I'll throw them in the sunlight. I'll throw them in the shade. I'll throw them in the mornings. I'll throw them in the dead of the afternoon. Doesn't matter. If you've got active fish, like we'll use Oroville as an example, year-round, mid-spring, late spring into summer, you can go out and wreck them on a jerk bait, and most of the time they're bigger fish. I don't ever shy away from, there's whatever condition it is, whether it's windy, whether it's flat calm, I'll throw a jerk bait. It's my go-to on that lake. It's always done me right, and usually it is a Lucky Crab pointer. Just, I don't know what it is about it. It's super confident for me, but it also, I like the action, how it's super erratic. And I think that the spotted bass, at least in Oroville, they love that erratic action. And so that's why I think that it's a little bit more of the style that I would fish there. The pointers, I will stick, like this time of year, these ones do not get pulled out of my box. If they do, it's because I've found that the fish are further up shallow, and because they have a little bit shallower diving bill on them, they're actually better up in that skinnier water. And so I will throw those up there and just kind of slowly work them with small twitches, so it's a straighter action, but it just kind of just darts just a little bit, and just try and draw the fish off that way. I usually try and stick with the Vision 110 +1 or a Stacy 90. Those are the two that I will heavily use throughout the winter time and into the early spring, going on into the mid-spring where the fish are starting to get ready to move on to the bed. I'll stay with those just because they're a little truer running, and I have a lot of confidence in them. That's what I've used in the years past, and that's what's worked. A lot of the jerkbait stuff is personal preference. If you like Rapala, if you like Jackal, if you like Livingston, if you like Strike King, if you've got a personal preference of jerkbait, go out, buy it, buy colors you're confident in, and go out and fish. If you know that you've got fish in 10 to 12 feet of water, go out and throw a jerkbait. Work it slow, especially in the colder temperatures. Work it really, really slow. I can't stress that enough. Try and be extremely thorough with the bait as well. Don't just work half the cast and then reel it back in and cast it right back out. Work that cast until you can feel it. When you jerk the bait, you will actually feel where it almost feels like it's pulling up. That's because the bait has come all the way to the boat, and now you got to kind of pull it up. And that's when I'll actually change the way that I'm moving the bait. Instead of like this, where I'm actually moving it down, I'll actually take the rod and I'll pop it up. And sometimes the fish will be following it, and when you do that pop up and it starts moving up, the fish thinks it's running and it'll kill it. I've actually had fish right at the boat do that. So if you guys have any questions or comments, leave them down below. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. Subscribe. We'll talk to you soon.